I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about riding bikes and rocking out. Today on the show, we are discussing Jeff Nichols' new film, The Bikeriders. We're also discussing a new film that Yorgos Lanthimos directed called Kinds of Kindness. Stick around for that after our Bikeriders convo. We're also, because Chris Ryan is here, going to build the dude's rock canon. We're going to build the canon of movies that feature dudes rocking.
This is a really easy text message conversation to have with you last night.
You didn't even text me about it.
Because dudes
Why
rock.
do you think that was?
But here's the thing. When they're really rocking,
Yeah.
I'm also like, yeah. You know?
Well,
so that's the thing. It's like you have to get to a place where the dudes are truly rocking, and then it works for everyone.
I think if they reach a certain aesthetic criteria, then you're on board.
That's not totally true.
But you like when ugly men are rocking?
If they're cool,
Okay.
then
Cool
then
Uggs?
that,
They can
if
rock
they're
still?
cool Uggs, then that works out for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Where do you stand on like Charles Bronson, for example?
I mean,
That's a guy that he rocked pretty hard.
Pretty
like,
regularly.
Too hard.
Yeah.
Through 1987. But would you say like he's bringing the same energy that Steve McQueen or Austin Butler is bringing?
No, but Steve McQueen and Austin Butler are like very two specific examples. Like the dudes in Heat are not rocking at an Austin Butler level. Maybe they will in Heat too when they're younger.
I think my friend has something to say about that.
Well, okay, aesthetically. What? Aesthetically. Listen, De Niro is not, the hot De Niro photo that circulated.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean, but they're rocking, and I'm still like, hang out, everybody.
I told you when you signed up with me, baby, you were going to have to share me. God.
We're off to a roaring start.
You know.
We're going to talk about the Bikeriders first, and then we'll talk about the dudes rock canon. I don't again, as Chris said, we knocked this out in roughly 8 minutes.
I added one.
Great. There's no
But you
no
guys
limitations.
did have a list of like 20.
I
at
probably
least.
could have added 30
sure.
more. Off
I was
the top
like,
of
do
my
you
head.
need like 10? And then he was like, here are the 17 that I came up with. And I was like, there's one that Sean just neglected to put on. He disagreed with me, I guess.
Did I?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we can talk about that when we get there. First, let's talk about the Bikeriders. What is the Bikeriders? First Jeff Nichols movie in a long time. Jeff Nichols, one of those guys who I think very early on in our friendship were like, you seen Shotgun Stories?
Yeah.
And then we started crying over Miller High Life. This new movie is...
Thank you for allowing me to be here with you
for this
guys.
moment.
Yeah, and in many ways, the Bike Rider is like an inclusive. It has like a Amanda representative.
It does.
On the screen. But yeah, I
That
guess
was
I didn't.
Norman Reedus is who
Yeah.
you're referring to, right?
I guess I didn't think it was the woman with the really large beehive.
Yeah.
I didn't think about, what a fest this would be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the movie is maybe not in the hallowed halls of The Great Escape and The Magnificent Seven and some other movies that we'll talk about here, but it is very much in conversation with those movies, very much paying homage to them. It's a movie set in the 1960s based entirely on a photo book by the photojournalist Danny Lyon, who captured images of these motorcycle riders in the 1960s in the Midwest that had very limited captions. And even though Lyon did interviews with these figures, there was still like a real air of mystery. Nichols had been given this book by his brother and said, I think you would really like this. And he was really inspired by it and effectively created a world from these images and created a narrative. So this isn't really based on a true story, though it is based on true people. And it follows very closely this group, the Vandals MC Motorcycle Club. And it's a strange movie because it's very episodic. It does not have like a clear narrative, like we need to go from here to here. It feels like a movie full of photographs. And if you accept that about the movie, and frankly, if you know it going in, I think its iconography is very powerful. I really liked it. It also feels like very clearly like What If Goodfellas on motorcycles,
Yep.
Yes.
which for me...
From that first scene and the first freeze frame and the narration coming in.
Yes, the narration is a clear tip of the cap to the Henry Hill point of view. And then also I think that the character that Jodie Comer plays is also very much in conversation with Karen from Goodfellas as well. But, it stars Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, as he is in every Jeff Nichols movie, Mike Feist, Norman Reedus. It's a pretty stacked cast. Amanda, I'll start with you. What do you think of this movie?
Austin Butler. But really, also Jodie Comer. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
I loved it. I everything that you said was like a very nuanced and a insightful look at the movie. And I was also like, you're way overcomplicating this. It is a movie that understands the mythology of movies and of image making and self-consciously participates in it. And you got 3 movie stars doing just movie star stuff. And it was fun to watch. Like, I guess I don't care about motorcycles that much, but every single motorcycle shot was, to your point, like photographic and beautiful.
Inherently cinematic.
And you just want to hang out with these people. They are rocking. And what's nice about it is that the Jodie Comer character, who is the narrator and like definitely is the Karen of the Goodfellas, but also gets positioned not as the Henry Hill, but she is the narrator.
She tells the story.
She tells the story, and she gets a lot more to do than the typical wife of the dudes in the gang. In many ways, it's like a love triangle between herself and Austin Butler throwing heat and Tom Hardy doing Chicago Bane. So I mean, it is like the 40%. The R's are the exact same.
The unproduced Batman movie from
yeah.
1973 starring Marlon Brando as Bane is what Tom Hardy is doing.
It's the best Tom Hardy's been in a long time.
You think so?
He's so good.
I thought he's awesome in this.
So what did you think of the movie as well?
Same thing. I thought that it was an incredibly pleasant experience to watch. And it's like one of those things where I actually don't have like a huge motorcycle fetish, but was like, it turns out I do. It turns out that this is one of those things like surfing and World War II that I pretty much have like a maximum.
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
unlimited.
you shoot it like this and frame these people like this, and you're just like, wow, that is the coolest thing ever. You're right.
Yeah.
I like America. Look what we created.
I like that idea though of things that you don't participate in
that I have like an unlimited amount of interest in.
Yeah.
Espionage. Like.
Yeah. I think if my nuance is too present, it's because I think this movie's self-consciousness, it feels almost like how I feel when I'm trying to make an episode of the show where I'm like analyzing like what you're doing, but like he's doing it all for you. Like a character literally watches The Wild One and thinks to himself, what if I were more like Marlon Brando in The Wild One? Austin Butler is it's almost as if his character in the movie watched his performance as Elvis in the movie and was like, I got to be more like Elvis. Like there's something kind of fascinating, almost snake eating its own tail about the movie that I think is really fun. And I thought very entertaining.
Yeah.
Very, very engaging.
I saw it like a few weeks ago. I can't remember like literally what happens scene to scene. I know the broad strokes, but like there's not like a lot of plot.
You know what's so funny though? I feel like this is a nice break because I saw this movie in September of 2023 and I haven't seen it since, but I remember it pretty well. And I think it's because of the way that you're describing it, where it is like, there's big imagery in this movie, that imagery of him with his back to the camera sitting at the bar as the 2 guys are starting to harass him. That moment when he goes outside before the beating, the moment when you see him
propped up against the pool table and you see him as Jodie Comer.
Yes, and
he comes and he turns his chair around.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. This guy like getting off of chairs, motorcycles. I mean,
but this
it's hard to do it that well.
So the movie is being sold hard on Austin Butler's charisma and this kind of like burgeoning mythology around him as a movie star.
And I think that they actually even before his sort of ascendance, whenever this was actually shot, like he's got the reddish blonde hair. Everybody else has dark hair pretty much, or dirty blonde hair. Like he stands out. Like he is styled in a way that feels almost like he looks exactly like his character on the red carpet for the Bikeriders. Whereas like all the other guys are like in their character actor bag of being like, I haven't shaved. I have oil on my face.
I have a wig on.
I
Here's
have
fake
weird teeth. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he is very much like the most pristine version. And I think if you want to read the movie archetypally, symbolically, he is like this idea of American masculinity in the 1960s that like never really existed.
Right.
But every once in a while you'd see a guy walk into a bar and you'd be like, that's it. Like that's what we all want.
To be fair, I took a look at some of those Danny Lyon pictures and there's some guys who he looks like, there are some pinup idol looking guys like in this MC in this Vandals.
And he
world.
does also, he probably has 30 lines in the movie. He is like smoldering. And again, the movie knows that it is playing with that archetype of like the guy leaning at the bar who doesn't speak. And I think it ultimately even subverts the the archetype just a little bit at
Mhm.
the end, which to me is interesting. Like I find it's self-awareness and giving you what you want, but also tweaking it just slightly to be interesting. And also, it still is so immensely enjoyable to watch, but you're also like, oh, huh, they did that. I didn't know that they were going to do that.
Yeah. I was talking to a colleague earlier today before we recorded, and he was saying Jodie Comer just should be Meryl Streep, but isn't Meryl Streep, which is like maybe a bit of a reach, but it's like she's obviously extremely talented. She's on a big streaming series. She's in Free Guy. She was in The Last Duel.
Right.
She's been in like a series of projects where on paper you're like, this is going to make her a megastar.
Yeah.
And this is another one too. And she was in a movie last year called The End We Start From, which no one saw, which she was really good in. And now this is like 4 or 5 things in a row where I'm like, she's doing amazing work. She's doing an accent. I don't know if I told this story on the pod, but I met Jeff Nichols at Telluride and hung out with him for a little while. And he played me a recording of the real Kathy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it is perfect
Spot
what
on.
Jodie Comer has done.
I have a lot to say about the voice.
And so, it's a very big, bold choice, but also clearly rooted in truth, like a real person. I think if you are on board with what she's doing, the movie goes down a lot better. If you're not, if you're like, whoa, this is taking me out of it, you might struggle with this movie.
I thought she was really good. I thought that we can kind of spoil mechanics of it. The cut, they often will cut to this framing device, which is Jodie Comer doing a series of interviews with Mike Faist's character, who I guess is the Danny Lion, and is doing a photo book with interviews about these motorcycle riders.
And he wins the tragic facial hair award for this,
Tough
which is
one.
not his fault.
Yeah.
It's the 70s.
I found that the recurring sort of motif of going back to her folding laundry and doing these sort of interviews to just stop the momentum of the movie kind of in its tracks. Like every time 2 scenes would happen, I'm like, cool, like now we're moving. And a movie that's about motorcycle riding needs to have that feeling of momentum, to have the constant stop and then she starts to kind of narrate how everybody was feeling and how she was feeling and all that. While very, very good, I just thought didn't really work for the propulsion of the film itself.
This is not because this was a woman talking during the film, right? Just want to be clear on that.
It was not, but it did. So, like, you guys have to understand, if you haven't seen this movie and you're just listening to us, like, I agree that she could be Meryl Streep. She could also be Eddie Redmayne. Like,
wow, that's so mean.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I just think that
interesting.
she
I'm up for this
makes
conversation.
Really
Big choices.
Big choices.
It's so funny because she was lights out to me. And I guess I just bought in on the accent and I thought that first Goodfellas homage was like so entertaining and funny, and she's so charismatic in addition to doing whatever she's doing. Like sometimes, I've thought a lot about like Margaret Qualley's recent accent work to give you where I'm just like, oh, you're trying.
Yeah.
You're doing it, but it's not working for me. And this, I was just in from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, the whole movie kind of hinges on, do you like spending a lot of time with these people?
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Hardy, it's interesting that you say this is some of his best work in a long time because he no stranger to a curious accent. I can't believe you're discounting the recent Venom films. I do believe that those are among his more interesting choices. He's also now doing something in this movie that feels hyper self-conscious.
Yeah.
And taking a part like this feels hyper self-conscious because he has been accused of playing, dress up a little bit at times with the characters that he takes on, like an overly performative reach. And this is a character who is basically a municipal worker living in Chicago, and he's got a wife and kids.
Wants to start a social club.
Right.
Yeah, who's like, I need to be cooler. I need to have a slightly cooler bent to my life, and is inspired by the world. And Hardy, I think, brings like a real emotional complexity, especially to the last hour of the movie, because it becomes, as you said, this love triangle between effectively Kathy and Hardy's character Johnny, kind of pining for Benny's
time.
Yeah.
And
you can't have him; he's mine.
Right. Which is, there's some of that energy here today. I think I really liked him.
Yeah.
And yet I actually couldn't get the cult of Tom Hardy out of my head while I was watching it.
I thought he did it. It was like admirably restrained. He often really hides behind facial hair and masks, weird tics and gestures. This was like a really quiet man who obviously was not going to be super verbose about his interiority and just found something that he loved, made the rules of this world and abided by them very, very Catholically, you know. And I thought it was just like a really nice kind of tender character actor performance from him. And I think that, like, you know, we've mentioned Goodfellas a couple of times. So there's obviously an element of like use of music. There's some cinematic virtuosity going on. Same kind of time frame too, where it's got an late 50s, early 60s romanticism that then sours in the late 60s and early 70s with hard drugs in Vietnam. And so basically this club goes from being Marlon Brando to Easy Rider over the course of like the film. And
there's a good Easy Rider joke
at
the end.
Yeah. And I thought that the only place where it kind of fell short for me was that it lacked like kind of like a bigger statement, like the way Goodfellas does. Like Goodfellas has the like, I'm just a schnook, you know, it has we were all basically addicted to making money and constantly chasing the next score. We were never going to be satisfied. And there's something hollow inside of us. And like, it doesn't really sit in moral judgment of them as much as it's like, this is the sickness we all have. It's just coming out differently for these guys. And I thought maybe Bikeriders didn't quite have that level of like something to say about America or whatever.
I did. I don't know that it makes it necessarily a bigger or better movie.
Right.
But I think that joke that you just referenced like is effectively what the story is trying to say. It's a movie based on a series of pictures that, you know, American cultures are about mythology. They're about like how things are represented to us and then what they come to mean when we look at them. And that the Wild One is a reflection of something that was already happening in the world. And then it went on and then influenced the world. And this kind of circular nature and the idea of moving from the 50s to the 60s, from the Wild One to Easy Rider, and the idea of like reflecting on Easy Rider being the movie that changes Hollywood and pushes it in a completely different direction, is saying something about this like centrifugal system of culture that we have.
That's well put.
Which I think is a cool idea, but it doesn't have, it's just, when you compare a movie to Goodfellas, it's not Goodfellas. It's really hard.
And it's not, like, it's not just us. I mean, it's setting out its love to Goodfellas from like the very first frame. But yeah, no, I agree it's not Goodfellas. I do also think, and I guess we are fully in spoiler territory, because like the last scene, you know, framing it like totally around the Jodie Comer character.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he actually does not like ride off into the distance.
I mean,
and
he's like listening to bikes in the background.
Yeah. And then they like make eye contact and there's something like interesting and like there's a little frisson there, but they also, it is weirdly like a couple together, which is not
regular life.
Now he's just a mechanic who lives in Florida. Yeah.
I liked that aspect of it, that approach to telling the story that way, but it leaves you, it was not
it's not doom and gloom, and
it also wasn't it's not at the end of Goodfellas it feels satirical, you know, like it could, the movie completely changes its energy, that like zoom to Henry Hill's front door and then the music cue at the end of that movie, it makes you rethink the movie you just watched. This movie doesn't really do that. This movie is like, this is about a movie about a bunch of ordinary people and they find themselves in very dramatic circumstances. There's a big biker gang fight. There's the big confrontation where the woman might be abducted in the party house.
That's right.
You know, there's the famous moment, or for me, the famous moment where Toby Wallace, you know, like emerges as a big star in this movie when he has a memorable showdown.
Yeah.
And he's very, very good in this movie. If you haven't seen him before, he's excellent. But those are the things that feel like the constructions of the film, whereas the final scene to me felt more like what was actually going on. Which is an interesting creative choice, and I think it actually reflects like what Jeff Nichols does very well. Even when he's telling fantastical stories, he tells super grounded stories that are mostly about how people are thinking about things and how they remember things. You know, like those are core themes of his movies. I like this. It's not going to be in my top 10 of the year, but I really enjoyed myself.
I really liked it. But maybe I liked it the most of the three of us.
You might have. You have like a, you know, you've got a hard on for Austin. It's okay.
It's also like, I think that I went to it was very high expectations.
Yeah.
You know, and that sometimes is that's my own issue, is like going into something and being like, all of my guys are here. How could this be anything less than like a dazzling experience? And it was really, really good. Like, I'm not trying to I think it's more interesting sometimes to be like, I wonder if this is what's wrong with it. Because as you describe scenes, I was like, that was sick. That was sick. We haven't even gotten.
Might be a good YouTube movie.
Yeah.
This also like the bench in this movie is unreal. So like, I just briefly want to say like, you know what the coolest thing in a film like this is when a character dies, and you're like, fuck, the movie just went off a cliff because this guy's not in it anymore. And Damon Harriman in this movie is kind of like the conscience of the motorcycle club.
He plays Brucey.
And his death in the movie signals like the turn into it's going to get dark now. But when he leaves the movie, you feel like the absence of his like heart and his presence in the film. Can I get a second for Boyd?
Well, I was going to say, I feel like a little bit of your disappointment in the movie is that Boyd doesn't have enough to do. Your special boy,
so
Boyd
much
Holbrook.
With what he's got, man.
Yeah. But that's the Boyd Holbrook story.
It's also like there's whenever you get an ensemble film like this of guys in various points in their careers, like we're like 3-4 years removed from when Boyd Holbrook was Austin Butler for a hot second. In Logan, he wasn't. He may have been. What is the problem? Why are you denying this? In Logan, big villain role, everybody's like, damn, Boyd Holbrook. In Narcos.
And hold on.
Many people were saying.
Let me just say. I went to Pasadena with your wife to see the film Logan. It was just the two of us. You weren't there.
Yeah, because I already seen it like 3 times.
Right. But we did not walk out saying, damn, Boyd Holbrook. So.
I mean, I love you. You know this is not true. But the movie is in a way this kind of like collection of guys who almost were that.
Yeah,
thing.
Emery Cohen,
Carl Glussman, Boyd, obviously. Michael Shannon, never really a heartthrob, but a man for his time.
Right.
And so that's also a fun component of the story, is that you're constantly seeing people who are like, I love that guy. I love that guy. And I agree with you that when someone leaves the movie, it doesn't really diminish your interest in the characters. It's also just a really simple but excellent execution of like, this movie has a jukebox in it.
Yep.
And so when you have literally a jukebox in your movie, we just get to hear twice as many songs. The song selection is out of this world.
So
it's
good.
a great soundtrack. There's one moment in particular where, there's two. There's a very self-conscious Muddy Waters needle drop, but it's a re-recording of a Muddy song from the 70s
the Electric Mud
version. The original appears in Goodfellas, and then you hear the electric version in the 70s, and you're like, I see what you're doing there, man. I really like that.
You want to talk about dudes rocking? We're talking about Electric Mud right
Absolutely.
now.
And then there's a cover of Masters of War, like later in the movie, by the Staple Singers, and when it hit, I was like, this is a 5-star classic. But for that 5 minutes, I was like, this is absolutely fire.
We almost need to come up with a new category for a film where, at its heights, you're like, this is Lawrence of Arabia, and then you forget 35 minutes of it. I'm trying to.
But you weren't having a bad time.
No, not
during
at all.
The 35 minutes.
I also want to say Comer's really good, but I think it's the voice. I think it's
you couldn't get on with it.
Yeah, and I was trying to imagine.
I think people are going to feel this way.
What do you have against the Midwest?
It's not that. It's her
her manner,
intonation. It's her her tempo, and I was trying to imagine her doing this voice and just transposing it onto other films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the first time I met Paul Atreides. He had beautiful blue eyes and he really wore that still suit. I told my girlfriend Jenny, I said, I think that's gonna be my boyfriend. And that's like, as jarring as it sounds coming out of me, that's what happens in this movie where you're like, Muddy Waters is playing, all the dudes are cool, and then it's just like, that was the first time I saw Fanny.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's intentional.
Yeah. I do as well.
I do.
And it worked for me.
It's
But
meant
it
to
took you out of
cut
it.
the masculine energy.
I don't need margarine. I need butter. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, I want pure, unsalted Kerrygold on the fucking tub, man.
What does that mean?
Just like,
Are you a Kerrygold family?
No, we're not.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the Irish butter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do know what that is.
Show some respect for your people.
I think
Yeah.
I'm a
Do they
Challenge
actually produce it?
family.
Oh, okay.
Challenge unsalted European style.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
now I know. It's silver and
Is
it
there
has
like a
the little
mousse on it?
picture of
Yeah.
the. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. What?
We're just
We're
talking
just
about
talking
butter.
about butter.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
We're not derailing this.
Do you eat butter?
Yeah, I do. I had
You do?
some on
That's-
toast yesterday.
Okay, so
Love
that's
butter.
not like a.
not a white condiment.
Well. So it's the
yellow.
yellow gradient?
Yeah.
Well, it really depends on the butter that you're working with, to be quite honest.
What's a white butter? I guess like
I can't
that
believe it's
Philadelphia's, isn't that also?
Yeah, or a whipped butter is often white.
Not for me.
Okay.
Not for me. Yellow butter. I'll take a margarine.
I'm
not above a margarine.
Margarine, but that's okay.
Yellowish. All right, where were we?
I don't know. This movie rules.
I'm glad you liked it.
I do also, I've been thinking about it. I am, not to spoil next week's episode, but we are doing a Kevin Costner Hall of Fame sometime soon. And so I am deep in the Kevin Costner American male archetype trenches right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have graduated from the good period to the
complicated
period, shall we say?
Yeah.
So then to go into a movie where I was just like, oh, you got it.
Yeah.
And everyone...
He would have been Johnny if this movie was made 25 years ago.
Yeah, I guess. Though, would he have been as good at it is like a different conversation.
I don't know. Have you seen A Perfect World? That's pretty damn close to Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess maybe it's what I was going from to what I was going towards, but it's pretty uncomplicated in my enjoyment of this.
You like it when dudes rock too. That's really the point. So I don't know how we build this canon.
I think it's you guys just
we just say movie names.
You just texted.
We can lay out some parameters because I do think as a point of order, Sean set up. Should I actually read the text message that you did? 1 second, let me find it here.
This will give you an insight into my mind.
Yesterday, 1:25 p.m. Can you give some thought to the Dudes Rock movie canon for tomorrow's pod? Basically, movies where groups of guys hang out and do cool shit, which I took that very seriously, more or less to the exclusion of women.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And I said,
this is the idea.
Yes, I can do this.
I'm not advocating.
10 movies, and we immediately came up with 30.
Right.
Now,
a couple of these, I love The Hunt for Red October. That's dudes rocking.
One ping only. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is definitely rocking alone. And then the other guy who wanted to see Arizona.
They rocked in collaboration. In fact, reaching across the Berlin Wall to collaborate.
Also, the implication that Alec Baldwin is not rocking in The Hunt for Red October. I mean, he is the pinnacle of rocking.
He does jump off the plane into the submarine, but there isn't that
it's not the same as Bikeriders, where it's like guys together hanging out, doing stuff.
As a group.
Yes.
It is like a bunch of people with individual interests who come together towards the common goal of defecting with this submarine.
There's some complexity here. There's some like Chris right away was like Rio Bravo.
Rio Bravo
might be the movie for this. We're in a saloon, we're hanging out, we're talking about getting into a gunfight,
and has a 5-minute scene of John Wayne, Walter Brennan, Ricky Nelson, and Dean Martin singing a song.
Yep.
And you're just like...
And we're going to sing it for you right now.
But in every single other one of these, you either have the getting the gang together montage, which is one of my favorite features in all of movies. And Bikeriders has it in spades. Or they start all together. And the Red October...
There's no getting the gang together.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's you need to jump into the North Atlantic right now.
When it comes to dudes, there are many colors on the spectrum. You know, there are many ways in which you can be a dude.
Yes.
You know, in some cases, you're a CIA operative on a submarine. You know, like that's something that you have to do sometimes when you want to rock out.
Okay.
In other cases, you're a series of bandoleros who went down to Mexico to kill people and steal.
Right.
You know, that's another way to be a dude, as in the Wild Bunch.
I think that the question is whether or not a dudes rock movie needs to make you feel like you would like to rock like those dudes, or that those dudes simply rocked but perhaps died in the process.
Yes, I was trying to avoid too much of a tragic feeling to the film.
You do need the thing where maybe you don't want to rock exactly like the dudes, you know, but you want to be a part of the gang.
That's why Magnificent 7 over Wild Bunch, maybe?
It should be aspirational in some way.
And, I mean, and Goodfellas, the genius of it is that, like, you like Henry Hill do want to be a part of it, even though you see what that gets. Literally everyone.
How many times has Chris Ryan said, drinks are on the house?
No, you got to drink with me. Drinks are on the house.
That's just, you just want to be around him. You want to be around Jimmy Conway.
And that can apply to women watching as well. That's the appeal of the Dude Rocks movie, you know, that it's all, you want to be in the group.
But for example, women would not be around the prison camp in The Great Escape.
That's
You
true.
know, like it's not like, oh, what if we remade The Great Escape, but it was 50% women? Like that
Right.
wouldn't make sense. That isn't
Yeah.
what the movie is about. You know, I understand that we are, you know,
I'm
Chris
not
has been
here
railing
being
against
like,
DEI
I'm
for
not
weeks.
yelling at you about representation. I mean, The Great Escape is more as like, I don't know if I want to be in those circumstances.
No, you don't. But
You know?
do you want to be on the back of the motorcycle when McQueen's going over the hill? You know, like that's
Yeah.
Also, you know what? I think there has to be a moment, no matter how sad the end of a film might be, there has to be a moment where a dude does something. It doesn't matter how small of a gesture it is. In The Sting, it's just touching your nose. In The Great Escape, it's Steve McQueen throwing a baseball against a wall in solitary confinement. And you're like, goddamn, dude, Rock. You put a guy in shoe and he's just throwing a baseball against the wall? Come on, man. And then he comes out looking better than ever? McQueen.
Can it be like great but pathetic at the same time? Because there's two movies in the 70s that I really have a lot of affection for.
Yeah.
Husbands, the John Cassavetes movie, about three guys who go out after one of their friends passes away and have a very messy weekend
I think
together.
anything in the Cassavetes canon is they're rocking differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they are
And
rocking.
well, but like,
It's
Are
dudes are
they?
broken, more like,
yeah,
yeah.
dudes are.
But that in and of itself,
They're
is
fighting against the darkness. You know.
I
Yes.
asked if Kicking and Screaming rocked.
Oh, interesting.
and I think yes.
No, well, I think but that's the Cassavetes.
Can you intellectually
lineage.
rock?
But they're all like fairly
The
miserable.
scene in Kicking and Screaming where they have the book club about all the pretty horses,
Aren't we glad that we all speak Spanish?
I thought that rocked. I thought dudes rocked in that scene, but in a kind of ironic rocking way, which was accurate for the time of
Would you
Slacker.
say that film and that approach to storytelling is the most influential on you as a podcaster? Like your whole approach to analyzing culture and
It's because of
spending time
Kicking
with your
and Screaming,
friends,
a disturbing amount.
right?
Yeah.
Like does Bomback know that? Like did Bomback invent podcasting? Is really what I'm asking.
No, Christian Slater didn't pump up the volume.
No, that's not true. He invented pirate radio, which generally kind of sucks. Podcasting
So
does not
that's
suck.
not rocking. Okay.
There's not
no,
enough
it's
dudes
just
in it.
by himself.
He's solitary.
He's talking about cranking it solo. If you're cranking it solo, you're not rocking.
The thing about Kicking and Screaming and also Husbands is like, even as they are getting up to their hijinks together, like no one's enjoying themselves. There is that like existential malaise
So I have
at
a
the
question
bottom
about
of it, you know?
So, one of my
Kicking and
favorite
Screaming,
movies.
one of my favorite movies of all time. So
I love
listen.
it as well. One of my favorite movies of all time, California Split, Robert Altman's
Okay.
movie. There are only two dudes. It's just George Segal and Elliot Gould, two guys, two wayward men who find themselves in a shared love for gambling. And they get into some trouble and they lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a real melancholy at the bottom of this movie, but there's also a real elation. We were talking about Inside Out too.
Right.
That's the polarity. It's a movie I really
Were you
identify
talking
with.
about Inside Out too?
Earlier in the week, I
Yeah,
guess.
last week.
Oh,
Earlier this week
oh.
on the show when we were talking about it.
And,
And I was like,
you were talking about
I
how
have
you
some
feel
joy. I have some anxiety. Like,
Okay.
that's what that movie
I have
is.
George
in a lot of ways.
Segal. I have Elliot Gould.
Yes.
Yeah.
But can a Dude's Rock movie be a movie where you're like, these guys actually really need like a lot of help, like therapy. They need to go back to their wives. They need to stop drinking.
I mean, many of these guys.
Respectfully, the Goodfellas all need
they
that.
all
Yeah.
need some help.
Absolutely.
You know?
See, I didn't put Goodfellas on the list.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, it's M. It's right under Hunt for Red October.
I didn't mean to.
Okay, well, I think that is like
Well, okay.
the self-conscious. I mean, that's the genius of Goodfellas, right? That it is like a dude's rock movie, but then also it brings their downfall. That rocking,
Here's a weird thing though.
Yeah.
That movie has Karen.
Well,
And like Karen.
sometimes we're here. Like sometimes,
We exist, Sean.
I'm not complaining about Karen's presence.
I come to work every day and try to rock with the dudes, It's like we can't be ignored.
But you can be excluded
Yeah.
from the Dudes Rock
That's
Hall of
true.
Fame.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I think
but
that
we need to make it so
you-
that it's not just prisoners of war camp movies. We need to make sure.
yeah, I mean that's
You said sometimes to the
Master and
exclusion-
Commander?
Yeah, well, is there a
know.
woman in Master and Commander? No.
I don't remember.
I don't
Master
think so.
and Commander Googling.
You don't remember Master and Commander on the Far Side of the World?
Okay, so like not all types of rocking appeal to me in the same way
You-
that they appeal to you. Listen,
Love this movie, don't you?
I don't think there's a single female character in this film.
I like this movie.
Paul Bettany playing
But
cello.
like old-timey ships don't call to me in the way that they call to you. I enjoy a different sea
I'm right there with
environment.
you, brother.
Yeah.
We're good. Master and
that's
Commander,
fine.
let's go.
He like discovers iguanas. Remember
I
that?
I do. I do.
Dude's drawing animals rocking.
It's
You know?
badly needed on the rewatchables,
I know.
Master and Commander. Badly needed. It's a perfect example of what we're describing here,
Yes.
where it's like these guys are getting up to some stuff on this ship,
And there's no women.
and there are no women around. It is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
There's a couple of very obvious 80s ones. I think both The Right Stuff and Top Gun
Mhm.
Yeah.
are, obviously Kelly McGillis
Sure.
and Meg Ryan are in Top Gun, but when the rocking is occurring, there are no women about. There's no.
When they're playing volleyball. Nope.
I guess when they're singing Great
I was
Balls
going
of
to
Fire.
say,
yeah.
the one bar scene.
That is actually, they're literally
Sure.
rocking out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
singing Jerry Lee Lewis.
It's fine.
Where are you at on Jerry Lee Lewis's marriages? Have you guys dug into those?
I thought that was funny.
Thanks. Did you actually watch the Jerry Lee Lewis documentary that
No.
Ethan Coen directed? That's on Netflix. Did you know it exists?
No.
Okay, that's crazy.
I feel like I'm like I've gotten the entirety of the Jerry Lee Lewis
You're good.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, you understand it all.
Yeah.
Because of the Dennis Quaid movie.
No, the Nick Tosh's book.
Did you read that?
Yeah.
Oh,
A long time ago.
is it called Great Balls of Fire?
Yeah.
Um,
I think so.
Top Gun, yes. Right Stuff is
Yeah,
auto
Yeah.
yes.
absolutely.
When he's like, give me a stick of Beemans.
This actually, the Bikeriders has a lot in common with The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of trying to tell the story of a culture happening in America at a certain time, and also using like phases by using the Sam Shepard phase, and then
And I was
the
going to say,
astronauts
like,
come together.
basically, is Sam Shepard in your movie? Then it's a dude's rock movie.
Very interesting. Sam Shepard
Yeah.
also memorably in Mud.
That's
the
right.
Jeff Nichols movie. Reservoir Dogs.
I think dudes do rock in that movie, but I think this is where it's like outside of the like cool guys hanging out doing
Mhm.
something cool is like that's more men torturing one another.
Does it
Yeah.
rock for an undercover cop to betray his crew and get everyone murdered?
It does when he's rehearsed the monologue extensively in front of a graffitied wall,
Okay, good to know.
and he has the commode story.
I ask you specifically, Ronin.
I think that might be a dude rock movie, like a singular samurai man rocks, but his crew is not that great.
Mhm.
He's often he's often not trusting them. He questions their loyalty throughout the
Oh.
film.
Yeah.
Natasha McElhone perhaps has too many lines for it to be a dude's rock.
Interesting. You think the studio said that as well?
No, I don't.
We need to cut some of Natasha's lines.
I think Ronan is in play, but I think that there are I think we have a couple of more like really, really like strong candidates here. Magic Mike, for instance.
Yeah, I thought this was a Chris suggestion. What do you think about this as a huge fan of Magic Mike?
They're rocking
Mm-hmm.
in their own way for sure. And it is like the get the gang together.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has some transcendent highs, and then it kind of peters apart, but they're all okay. Yeah.
I have a lot of affection for Cody Horn.
Right.
What's up with her?
She
no, I
got
did this-
married to someone.
Yeah. And now, oh God, is it like a
Is it
traveling?
Kevin Love?
I don't-
Kevin Love.
No,
Who
actually.
did she marry? She dated Kevin Love, I think.
Yeah, she did. I was looking at her Instagram recently, and I think she like runs an Airbnb now.
And that's Alan Horn's daughter.
It is. Yes.
I was a big fan of her, a big fan of Jen Meyer,
Who is that?
Toby Maguire's
Oh,
ex-wife,
Jen Meyer.
who was
Yeah,
Ron
yeah,
Meyer's daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe she did.
No,
marry
she
somebody.
married Reed Carolyn.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
So
Channing
now,
Tatum's producing
and
partner.
her Instagram is Cody H. Carolyn. So she's the CEO of 2 and You. I'm not aware of what that is. I believe she worked
The
on
CEO.
Yeah, but there's
Interesting.
no link.
She have her MBA?
There's
Um,
no link. She doesn't have a link tree?
She doesn't have a link tree. She is also a part of something called Cadence Kitchen, which has 392 followers. And it's you'll learn how to cook, not just follow a recipe. And it seems like cooking videos. So Chris Ryan, maybe this is in your interest set. She also apparently worked with Channing Tatum on his children's book Sparkella.
Okay.
And oh yeah, and the family run ranch she is apparently affiliated with. So
Well, shout out to her. I think maybe the fact that we're talking so much about Cody Horn, maybe it suggests
Maybe-
Magic Mike
maybe it's not.
does not a dude's
Maybe
rock
it's
movie.
not.
I don't know.
She has a very unique power in that film, as does Olivia Munn. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I was just looking at the selected works of Boyd Holbrook. It appears. Do you know what his next?
Do you want to run through his IMDb and I'll tell you all the good movies?
No. I think I got that under control.
Did you ever watch Narcos season 1?
I did. I thought it was really bad. I thought the voiceover was atrocious. But I understand
That's
that
when I first saw Pablo Escobar, and I said to my girlfriend Jenny, he's got the best cocaine I've ever had.
Wow. Another voice in the toolbox.
I don't know if I can do. My voice is actually really tired.
You like some throat coat. Yeah.
He's gonna appear in A Complete Unknown, the new Bob Dylan movie.
Oh boy.
He has a very prominent role. I'm gonna give you a few guesses for who he might be portraying. A very notable figure in Bob Dylan's life. And a very notable figure in American music.
Is it Robbie Robertson?
It's not Robbie Robertson. I like that guess.
He seems more like Rick Danko, actually.
Think bigger.
Elvis?
Not quite that big.
Okay.
One more guess. It's not Muddy Waters, I promise.
That would be bracing.
He's playing Johnny Cash.
What a fucking legend.
Wow.
And you're doubting him?
I don't think he can do it. I'm putting that on the table right now.
If you're wrong, first of all, I'm going to look you in the eyes after we see A Complete Unknown, and I'm going to know the truth. And when you're wrong, I get first chair. For a month.
1 month.
I get to host the big picture and do whatever I want.
Okay. But I'm taking over the watch.
No, you just sit here and watch me do it. It's like pod cucking. You have to watch me pod.
You got to remember that Jim Mangold's got a bad addiction of Boyd Holbrook. Bad.
I share that addiction. I see him in Boyd
and
Anonymous
also Johnny
every
Cash.
week. Yeah,
he does.
But I like that movie. It's only Defender.
I mean, to go from you've made 2 movies featuring Johnny Cash. One stars Joaquin Phoenix. One stars Boyd Holbrook. I mean,
but you didn't say that very nicely.
I like Boyd Holbrook just fine. This is a tall order for this pretty blonde man to be portraying Johnny Cash.
I think he'll do a really good job.
Okay.
Throw a little Bobby bait out there.
Mm-hmm.
Some late period dudes rock movies. For me, The Nice Guys had to go in here.
Yeah, great one.
But Triple Frontier and Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You skipped right past Everybody Wants Some. I thought.
Oh, and
that was your
Everybody
Bobby
Wants
bait.
Some.
Yeah.
That's definitely more Bobby bait, but all of those I'm good with. Yeah, they are rocking.
I feel like
very hard.
we're experiencing a renaissance of dudes rock movies. I mean, every 18 months it seems like we add another one to the canon.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think it is?
Who decided that?
Who decided that?
Do you think that's a reaction to
Guys,
something happening in the culture?
It's an essential part of our culture and certainly filmmaking culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
they just started a bunch of guys rocking out in the
I mean,
American
gals
West.
do rock as well.
And then they
Gals rock?
Yeah. Like in
Well-
August Osage County. You know, like
we don't get to rock in the same way. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And unfortunately, when we rock, it involves usually like a musical and some sparkles and some stuff.
What is the quintessential gals rock movie?
Steel Magnolias.
Oh my God.
Like a girls' trip? Like, what are we talking about?
I mean, I don't know. It's like probably Mean Girls, but that's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Bridesmaids?
Or I guess Bachelorette, but when women are rocking, they're just awful to each other.
They're just snorting cocaine in bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough. You should write one of those.
Yeah. Oh, a girl.
The female Rio Bravo. Recast.
Master and Commander, but with women.
I'm sure there's like a dozen other movies that listeners will shout out for us.
Yeah.
Bob, you mentioned to us that the Bikeriders didn't quite do it for you. What happened?
No, it didn't. Wait, before I share my Bikeriders thoughts, what about Midnight Run? That would be a dudes rocking, right? A two-hander dudes
it's
rocking?
Basically, you're right, and it's right in the Nice Guys. Does
Can
two make a band?
Well, that's
right?
also what I was going to say
Right.
about Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah. Does 2 make a band?
Yeah, they have teams. Like those like Ford vs. Ferrari has like there's plenty of dude. We got Yaphet Kotto and we got Joey Pants and we got a lot of guys in Midnight Run. Right?
I would even say that within films that are depictions of like a solitary man achieving greatness, aka Ferrari,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a moment where many dudes rock, like at the dinner table
Sure.
when he's like, 2, you arrive at the same place and you must decide.
Yes, that
And
was a
that's it.
very accurate representation of that sequence.
And that's Dudes Rocking. When
Yes.
Jack O'Connell and Patrick Dempsey are like, holy shit, this guy's for real.
Bob, why didn't you like the Bikeriders?
I liked a lot of things about it. I liked a lot of the component parts. I liked the griminess of many of the performances. I think I am currently working with a little bit of an Austin Butler allergy. I'm so sorry,
Ooh,
Amanda.
yeah.
I don't mean to offend, but I just thought that he was like slightly at a different speed. Like the thing that I keep coming back to is that it looks like Tom Hardy's been punched in the face repeatedly for most of his life, and it looks like Austin Butler has never been touched before by human hands, like that he was sent down from heaven. And I thought that dichotomy, though I understand
welcome
that
to the
movie was kind of
movies.
leaning into that, didn't quite work for me. It took me out of it a little bit. I love Jodie Comer in the movie. I thought her accent really worked. I also thought it kind of like, for me, I understood that it was like the 1960s Midwest, but it didn't feel specific. It felt so broad in the setting of the movie. And I couldn't really lock into that aspect of it. But I thought that there was a lot of really interesting filmmaking elements behind it. I thought it looked really cool. I actually do love motorcycles and engines and American muscle, but there were just a few things that didn't quite coalesce in that synchronous way for me.
I think a lot of people will share Bobby's opinion, which is why this movie is tracking to not do very well, which I think is a damn shame.
You just went back on it.
Yeah, I promised.
I have a lot of problems. I don't know what to say. I'm a recidivist.
But you were just like tracking doesn't matter. Let's get rid of it.
I don't think we're going to come in on Monday and it's going to be like,
wow,
the Bikeriders made $118 million?
I mean,
how did this happen?
Inside Out bent the knee.
We never thought that. It was a Fox movie, right? Where it was Searchlight and then they
didn't
like
talk
cut
about
it
this.
loose.
Yes.
Did you talk to Jeff Nichols about this?
They cut those guys loose.
I mean, I know what happened.
They cut those guys.
They cut those guys loose. They cut these guys loose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie was originally supposed to come out by Searchlight in the fall.
Yeah.
There were some leadership changes at Regency, which financed the movie in full and effectively like licensed the movie to the studio. The studio didn't pay for the movie. So when that happens, there's more flexibility there to move studios. So I think that there was some stuff in the mix there that allowed them to go to Focus. Now they're going to Focus.
Right.
I hope people go see it. It is archetypal and it is trying to, I think what Bobby described about the difference between Tom Hardy's character and Austin Butler's character is not a mistake. It is a purposeful move that is hearkening back to a very specific time in movie making that Jeff Nichols has a lot of affection for. Just might not work for some people, which I get.
That's
but
fine.
I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm glad you got to find a new character for your arsenal of voices.
I hope enough people see it that I can. Well, I guess that didn't really matter with Wayne Jenkins. I was able to.
So what is Wayne Jenkins from? It was
from
like
We Own This City.
Yeah. One of those.
Did you see that
shows? No, I was about to say one of those shows that you guys talked about on the Watch a lot. A lot of those this year. I'm just letting you know.
We're going to take a
reader
break.
Feedback.
We're going to say goodbye to Chris. Chris, will you see Kinds of Kindness?
Do
Now's the time.
Do it.
Now's the time. What
for your
for
bit.
my take? I just think Yorgos is overrated. He's not on this show, right?
He's coming up next. Yeah.
He's behind that. You know nothing of my work.
You proclaimed at dinner the other night that you would just never see another Yorgos Lanthimos
That was
movie.
a candid, off the record conversation. But I maybe I won't. Unless he sticks his own Greek foot into the dude's rock pool and is like, I'll make one for CR.
Interesting.
Okay. So too many women in his movies is her feedback.
No one ever said that before, but maybe that's true.
This is what I was kind of nudging towards this when you look at the last few films he's made. They're basically only about women.
No, that's not true. I mean, that's not true. That's not why I don't like it. And it's not. It's a bit. I haven't seen.
Did you see The Favorite?
Poor Things?
Poor Things. I was going to say Pretty
Did you see
Things.
The Favorite though?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I
you
love
didn't see Poor Things.
But I didn't have this fake fucking persona back when I was like seeing The Favorite. I was just a guy at the movies. And I was like, ladies cursing.
You pulled the curtain back
chicks
too hard
rock in The Favorite.
They do rock in The Favorite.
That is women
true.
rocking.
Good call.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anytime you can get gout, you are rocking. Absolutely. Okay. Chris, thanks so much. Great to see you.
Great to see you guys too. Good luck with everything going forward.
We're back. Speaking of deranged men.
An incredible intro from Chris into this next segment.
He'll never see this movie, which is a shame for him. Is it a shame? Kinds of kindness. This is a new triptych, a new 3-part anthological movie from Yorgos Lanthimos, the beloved, celebrated,
Certainly celebrated.
filmmaker most recently behind Poor Things, who's got this ongoing collaboration with Emma Stone going right now, which is quite interesting. This movie certainly feels like a callback to the early days of the Yorgos experience. This movie's co-written with Efthimis Philippou, who is his co-writer on Dogtooth, Alps, The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, all those fun Greek movies that are inscrutably wonderful and deeply allegorical and quite strange, bloody, filled with sex and violence. What'd you think of this movie?
I'm annoyed by my own reaction to it.
Intriguing.
So
You're in my shoes for a change.
Being annoyed at me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, you seem pretty confident about all of your feelings all of the time. I mean,
because you liked it and you didn't want to, or because you didn't like it and you did want to?
Because I didn't like it and I don't like the reasons that I didn't respond to it.
Well, that's interesting.
It's not that I didn't. Well, and that's the other thing. It's not that I didn't like it. I mean, Yorgos is a great filmmaker.
Mhm.
You know, it is like an interesting movie. You can't say that these are bad. You can't say that they're without ideas. You
Mhm.
can't say that the filmmaking is like filmed in or phoned in. You can't say that the performances are boring.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, I am prejudiced against anthology and shorter things. But also together, this is 3 short films that are thematically linked somewhat through the idea of control. And that means it goes on for quite a long time. And I found myself getting a little exasperated by the 3rd installment, by just both the hammering of the themes of the very particular style and tone of a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. You know, like I think it's in the 3rd film where Emma Stone has her ridiculous breakdance, which she gets 1 per Lanthimos movie, as do all characters. And I was like, oh, okay, you know? But that does also feel dismissive of what is an interesting filmmaker. I think some of it is, like, I thought the first was much stronger than the other 2.
Agreed.
And I think, so you watch the first one, you're like, okay, well, I would keep going with this. Like, you have me. And do you just want to make a film out of this? And you don't, and that's your right. But it does almost veer towards museum like piece at some point, like durational museum piece. And that has its merits, but it's just when I go to the movie theater to sit down to like watch a 2-hour movie, you know, like I kind of expect the Bikeriders and not like, you know, experimental film.
Yeah,
so,
they're interestingly matched against each other. This movie is still only in limited release this weekend. I think it goes more wide next weekend. But this isn't exactly Star Wars: A New Hope. Like, you can't really spoil this movie. It is mannered in that very absurdist way that all of his early films are. Really, all of his first 4 films are. And then the favorite signal is like a shift when he starts collaborating with Tony McNamara. The first film is called The Death of RMF. And I think one of the reasons why it works better, and this is not a criticism of Emma Stone, but it's the movie that is not focused on Emma Stone.
True.
It's the movie that is focused on Jesse Plemons' character. And Jesse Plemons, we've not seen him in the Lanthimos world before, and he's very well suited to delivering the dialogue, to holding the kind of like sense of seriousness in the face of ridiculousness that comes with all of his stories. Also think the idea is a little bit stronger. All 3 of these ideas, as you said, are about control. The first film is about control and sort of like the workplace, employment, career, the way that like you pledge a fealty to this structure and then it controls you. The second film is about relationships and the way that marriages or love can also dictate how you are able to move within or without your life. And then the third is sort of like religion and faith and cult and, you know, all of these like big concepts that exist in common life. The first one, maybe just because I'm just a workaholic, just felt more resonant to me.
It is also, these are all our world like turned on its head, but it's the least turned on its head, right? It's sort of like a Black Mirror Twilight Zone setup where this person has a job and a boss, and you recognize all of the things and the situations within the frame until you don't, and you're like, oh, that's not how I have decided what to have breakfast in the morning, and that's not how I communicate with my boss or drive a car. But those are all things we do every day.
Right.
The second one is shorter and is really like the most fantastical. And then
I would say the most unnerving of the three,
Yes.
but not necessarily the most effective.
And then the third is, without spoilers, like about a cult. So, a source of fascination, to be sure. And we always want to know what's in a cult, but you that I know of have not joined a cult beyond Letterboxd. So it's like
Nothing cultish about us. We are a full-blown religion. We have been acknowledged.
Did you watch the Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, Hate Letterboxd fans videos?
Did not. How was it?
It was good. It was suggested by a friend that we should just like recreate it verbatim because Austin Butler is just like, hey, Letterboxd guys. And Jodie Comer's like, hello, computer people.
What did they pick?
No, I think they were just like introducing. It wasn't like the four.
It wasn't the 4 favorites.
Yeah.
Okay, that's too bad. Would Austin Butler's 4 favorites be like Persona? Light Sleeper.
You don't need to be rude.
He's trying. He's making a serious effort to be taken seriously, and I'm happy for him. He's appearing in a new Ari Aster movie. I can't wait.
I think he has the juice. Anyway,
you love a weird guy. Just like a guy who's like very handsome, but he's like definitely pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
That's your taste.
Mean, but I don't want like a standard handsome guy. That's boring.
Sure, yeah. Right. But Austin Butler is as close to like normie, like all women want him as you go, I think.
But you once very dismissively, but also I felt accurately. I think when we were talking about all the SNL husbands, and you were like, you guys all want the same guy. Just like, tall, seems, bookish and intellectual, but like actually hangs out and can like make a joke, and that's I guess
that's Austin.
He is like a little more actorly, if anything.
Oh, yeah.
A little reticent to talk about anything other than his craft. But
wait till he plays Krisha Hairless in Heat 2. It's fucking over for you. It's over for us all.
Why are we talking about this? Oh, yeah. So I haven't joined a cult. Is right. So
I disagree. I mean, I'm not being critical.
You think I've joined a cult?
I think you're in many cults. I think that part of what works about this third one is that it's all about how you see it.
You can't tell me what to do like that.
What do you mean?
I just like one person can't tell. Like I wouldn't
Sophia
last
Coppola.
one day in a cult.
Sophia Coppola tells you what to do. You model modes of your lifestyle
I can't afford to model.
But you aspire to them. But that's what cults do.
$3,000. Like that's
the same thing that Christianity does.
Barry cashmere sets for the plane. I can't afford
in the
that.
micro. In the macro, she's creating the presentation of a lifestyle that you aspire to, that you feel represents a fully realized lifestyle. That's the same thing that a cult does. A cult teases you with what could be all the time. And if you do these things for me, then you will be able to achieve them. I have my own problems with this shit. I'm a member of a lot of weird cults. I just think that idea is more fungible than the Netflix documentary idea of a cult, where it's like, there's one man with a bad haircut and glasses, and you wonder why everybody worships him, and yet 318 people worshipped him, and then they all killed themselves for him. Like, obviously that's what they're playing with structurally, but I think all of these movies are trying to be.
I talk a lot more than Sophia Coppola, so in that sense,
well, that is true. That is true. But nature versus nurture.
It's inspiration rather than like a dogmatic.
Do you aspire to speak less?
No.
Okay.
I mean, like here we are.
Different. Yeah.
It's just what I can't help it.
In that way, you are different. You know what I'm saying, though. I'm using it as like a funny example.
I do, but I think what I'm trying to identify is the reason that the first film had more resonance for me is that it's just less of a jump to.
I think one thing working against. I think you're right. I do think you're right. But one thing working against it is that every time you restart a new movie, you're like, okay, we're going to do this again.
Right,
Like, when's the
yeah.
weird thing going to happen again? And then
Right.
that holds you back, as opposed to if they had elongated the first film to 82 minutes instead of the 58 minutes that it is, you might feel differently. But the truth is you're right. It's a 2 hour and 45 minute movie. It's basically a series of like abstract Rorschach jokes. You know, it's like, if you're this kind of person, you're going to like this idea,
Right.
or you're not going to like this idea. It's very, very funny to me that Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe and Jesse Plemons are in this movie. You know, because when it was Dogtooth, you're like, here's a bunch of Greek actors I've never seen
right.
doing this odd performative thing. Even The Lobster, which is a curious movie and has big stars, but the log line is really funny.
Yes.
You know, what if you died and became an animal? You know, like that's just really funny. This doesn't have that. This is just weird people doing things.
Right.
Suss it out for yourself. Hard to sell. And it's effectively being sold on Emma Stone dancing in a commercial.
Right.
I'm curious to see. I mean, the public at large is basically not going to see this
not gonna
movie.
see it, yeah.
But it has a
This
sheen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does feel like what you get to do when you are Yorgos Lanthimos.
Right,
And
right.
you've done Poor Things, and Emma Stone has won the Oscar, and you've already got like your next big ticket feature starring Emma Stone in the works. And it's like, oh, I can have some fun. And I think it's cool that all of those actors were also like, oh, sure, I'll come be weird. Like that is what art is supposed to be. And so that's kind of like why I hate my reaction. If they felt like doing this, what's like,
I agree.
yeah, what's my problem?
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I don't have any, I don't think it's as effective as his best
I agree
movies
with that.
at all.
I didn't dislike it. I was just like, oh, okay, you know, this is not even half baked, but I was just kind of like, this was you guys like experimenting, and I enjoyed parts of it and responded to parts of it and didn't to others. And it's cool that you get to do this, because no one really just gets to, you know, make a film on a lark anymore.
I wonder what the budget for this movie ultimately was, because obviously it's shot in like motel rooms and
Right.
and local homes. I don't know, was it filmed in Louisiana? I can't figure out where it was filmed. But it is this magic trick of mega movie, maybe the female movie star of the era, doing something this unusual, surrounded by Margaret Qualley, Hong Chow, like a lot of very well-known actors.
Joe Alwyn, you saw he spoke?
Joe Alwyn, a little scary in the third film. I thought he was effective.
Pretty upsetting. Yeah.
You think that like represents maybe how he was in other circumstances in the world?
But he did his one promo interview for Kinds of Kindness. He was the cover. I think it was like Sunday Times Magazine or something. And, you know, he gave his 3-sentence quote about
Yorgos
the Taylor
is just
Swift
a tortured
experience.
poet.
No. About he didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
He was just like, it's very odd to be in the center of a painful relationship that then, you know.
Oh, he spoke on it publicly.
Yeah, but it was very prepared,
Okay.
which is the right strategy.
Okay. You keep circling back to this, and it seems like he's managed to dodge all.
Oh, well,
bullets.
that's really interesting. Did you hear that Maddie Healy's engaged?
I did not.
Yeah.
To whom?
I don't actually remember. Let's Google. Maddie
Zendaya?
Healy engaged, not to Zendaya.
Okay.
Gabriette.
Mm-hmm. Is it a mononym?
That was yes.
It is a mononym?
Yes. She's a musician.
Gabriette.
Yes, but like this
one day I woke up and I was 28, and then the next day I was 42.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I'm just like, who the hell is Gabriette?
I will be super honest. I learned who Gabriette was when I learned that Maddie Healy was engaged to Gabriette.
I'm seeing that she has a listed last name of Bechtel.
Yeah, but
she goes by.
Yeah, she goes by. And so like Pop Crave was like Maddie Healy and Gabriette are engaged. And then Maddie Healy's mom, who just has a lot of tabloid reporters on speed dial, was like, yes, they are engaged.
Oh, this is fucking dime store Sky Ferreira bullshit. This is the problem with these kids. We had this 10 years ago.
Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like I'm these kids. I don't know who this is.
We had it.
But it's like, I mean, I'm really worried about the decisions that Taylor is going to make next, you know?
Because of this news.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share any opinions about this. There's just no upside.
You just like actually shouldn't. But this is actually sort of fun for me, where I just like make you listen and you're like too afraid to say anything.
I like to get blown away by my
When does
devastating
preseason
age.
starts?
When does what?
When does preseason NFL start?
August.
Oh, okay. All right.
Why do you ask?
Well, because then Travis will be otherwise.
Oh. Will he though?
I mean, he's playing again, right?
I'm not expecting a huge season for Travis.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Just coming off of the incredible success. He's a hit podcaster now. He's going to have a TV show on Amazon.
Right. Are you smarter than a celebrity?
Yeah.
Which
I feel like he's spread a little thin. Don't you think?
I do, but he's still kind of showing up. They were in Lake Como together between stops on the Eras tour.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Now she's in the UK.
Uh-huh.
But soon she's going to do London shows, famously where she lived with Joe Alwyn.
So you're just like reading this all day. Just like, where is Taylor today?
But you know what's amazing? It's like, I'm not.
Because you come in and you're like really mean about like Letterboxd. And you're like, oh, you and your little cult boys. And like, you like spend all day looking at your phone, looking at where you think Taylor Swift might be.
It's true. Well, but I'm not seeking it out. You know?
What are you talking about?
Like, it's just kind of like I know this information. It just comes to me.
Amanda,
I look
Amanda's
on Instagram.
completely right here. She's completely right. It just comes to you algorithmically through all feeds. I know all this stuff too. I know about the London shows.
It's not
also,
like, but I'm not
Paramore is playing with Taylor Swift right now.
It's
so
not
I'm getting
because
more
I'm
of that.
on some app being like, Red is like my 5-star album, and the re-released Taylor's version is only something, and like fighting with people in the comments and trying to get a date or whatever. Like I'm opening my phone.
So you're trying to cede responsibility for your knowledge of Taylor Swift's whereabouts because you're being forced to look at the algorithm.
I'm just like, it gets served to you. Like, this is how I was like, who the hell is
delete the app? What are you talking about?
I did delete the app. Remember, desktop only.
So you're just banging away on your desktop about this stuff.
Or on Instagram. Yeah. I didn't delete the Instagram app. That's true. Yeah.
You know.
And then, like group chat and people are just,
I'm still looking at Gabriette's Instagram page and now I'm going to get served this shit for the next 2 weeks. I read newsletters too.
So
I don't know anything about Taylor Swift. No one is serving me anything. You know why? Because I'm not engaging in any of it.
Right.
When you engage, feeds the machine. I was thinking about this. I was going to make this point on the Kevin Costner pod, but I'm going to make it right now because it's salient to this.
Okay.
Here's what happened. Here's how everything got fucked up. This is important. In the 80s and 90s, you could just try something new. You could just go out and you could be like, oh,
I think
Field of Dreams.
I think Kevin Costner's career in the 90s is going to show us that you really, really sometimes could not.
I completely disagree with that.
You could try it and then everyone would be like, no. And then you would still make The Postman.
But and that's what I'm saying. That is something that he did, that he consistently was like, I'm so glad you enjoyed me in Field of Dreams. What I would like to do is make 5 movies about the post-apocalyptic landscape. He was a weird guy. He was trying stuff. Now, when you like something, the machines understand right away what it is that you like. They track based on the 1 second of engagement that you give it, and then you get served it forever. So you claim that you don't really want to know where Taylor Swift is. I know that that's not true, but I know what you're saying, and I know what Bobby is saying, which is that once they see that you've seen it once, then that's all you get served. So what you don't get served is a new thing. You never find something new that you're excited about.
That's not true. I know about Gabriette now.
That's not a new thing. That's just an extension of the thing that you already know about. And the point is, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody. I'm not railing. I'm like fucking looking at Letterboxd all day now because I'm like, oh, I found a thing that is safe that I understand that I like. But now we're living in these fucking cocoons of culture. It sucks. How are you supposed to discover anything you never thought you would have liked in the first place? Except unless I make you watch a movie you otherwise wouldn't watch. But otherwise, how do you find something new? I think this is important. I'm just going to put that out on the table.
That was incredible. That was really great stuff. I can't wait to explore this idea more on the Costner Hall of Fame pod.
Wait till we get to it. Wait till I talk about the pivot.
I mean,
from Field of Dreams to JFK.
Let me just Sean Fennessey in 2024 watching a bunch of Kevin Costner movies just discovered the fragmentation of culture.
No, I have always understood it, but what I have realized fully.
Oh, right. But you're just now experiencing it.
No, what I have fully understood is that I'm not getting the chance to try new things because I'm not thinking about them because I'm inundated by only the things that are interesting to me. Now, obviously, this is an understood concept. Like, there are a lot of data scientists and culture writers who have located this before. I'm not saying I broke through on something, but in like movie culture is a really narrow valence to think about it through. And even in the prism of Kevin Costner's mainstream movie career, maybe the most mainstream movie career of all time, he was like, you know what? Weird thing. Emma Stone is doing it.
Emma Stone is doing it.
When she does it, $100,000 worth of people are going to show up for it. Like, it's not even possible to do it in the way that you used to do it. I think it's interesting. I think it's important.
It's definitely fascinating. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on Kevin Costner's 90s.
Yeah, we're going to get into it
Yeah.
in full. I'm really excited about that.
But I don't think that the algorithm is to blame for what happened to Kevin Costner. Or the
I'm
rest
not
of us.
saying that. I'm not saying that. I think there are a variety of factors. We'll discuss
And
those
in
as well.
fact, you could look at the last 15 years of Kevin Costner's career and say that he figured out, oh, okay, people just want one thing from me. And so now I shall be Dusty.
I know. That's
yeah.
heartbreaking.
Well,
I wanna talk about that
I'm not
too.
trying to be annoying or self-serving, but I like, isn't that part of what makes podcasts interesting to people? Is that there are other people that you're listening to talk about things that they're passionate about, and then you can find them. Like Chris, who just left this podcast. Goodbye, Chris. In a huff of Yorgos Lanthimos takes, is someone who's introduced me to a lot of music that I would have never found otherwise. Like, you just got to talk to people. That's my take. Talk to people, not without
you gotta
the
let
algorithmic
me talk about
buffer.
stuff. That's the thing. You're always trying to silence me. I want to talk about a teacup.
I'm trying to silence
Yeah.
you?
You were like, women cannot rock. And then
Well, I didn't say that.
you have
Historically,
to stop
they don't.
talking about teacups and lip balm. But the people
That's
want
not
to
the
know.
focus of this show.
Well, Sophia Coppola endorsed both of them. So
I know. Well, if you will admit that
you
you're
can
in her
talk
cult.
about your film-related physical objects that you are a capitalist
No,
stooge
they're
for.
films.
And
They're just on a disc.
right, and then you're just obsessed with their plastic packaging. But I can't talk about my, cruelty-free lip balm in a range of shades.
I mean, you can go stand against the wall and talk about it. Like, feel free. That sounds awesome.
Wall Talks is a great opportunity for the Rigor
Wall
Movies
Talks is
YouTube
good.
channel.
That's good. We get you you should do mirror talks. You look into the mirror and we put a GoPro on your head and you just talk like you should do a makeup pod.
No, I don't wear enough makeup to do a makeup pod.
A lip balm pod.
I'm just trying. Do you know guess how much the Sophia Coppola Augustinus Bader lip balm costs? Guess. I want you to guess.
$79.
No, okay. Well, I built you up too much. It's 42, which frankly is a lot for a lip balm that you're going to
Okay.
lose in 2 seconds.
Have
you ever finished a tube of lip balm?
I have, yeah. I famously have chapped lips.
Sure, but it's an object that I feel like you lose before you get to the
I
end
lose
of
them
it.
all the time. Yes,
Yeah,
I have finished
okay.
them, but yes, I lose.
Okay.
I lose them 98%
All
of the
right,
time.
see, we found common ground again.
On lip balms, yeah. As usual, I just have made so many mistakes in my life. I just don't even know what's happening anymore. Okay, Amanda. Kinds of Kindness. Would you recommend it?
If you're interested in the latest Yorgos Lanthimos
Yeah.
experiment,
You've got
why not?
$42. Lip balm or the film Kinds of Kindness with someone you
But
love.
it is a little. I don't know which is the worst deal.
Is it lip balm for the soul? It could be.
It could be.
I liked this movie. I think people should see it. It's not ideal that it's 2
$42
hours
is
and
just
45
expensive.
minutes.
Yeah.
It is expensive.
Movies are expensive,
Okay.
as is lip balm at this point.
Well, thank you to Bobby Wagner for enduring this very cool conversation about normal stuff. Thanks to Alea Zanaris. Thanks to Jack Sanders. Please stay tuned to The Big Picture because, as promised, next week we will be building one of the more interesting halls of fame in our show's history, Kevin Costner. We'll see you then.